Hello, strong, beautiful, confident woman of God. Yes, I am talking to you. Welcome to the Purpose After Domestic Violence podcast, where getting freedom from the effects of domestic violence meets empowerment to walk in the fullness of your God-designed purpose. I am your host, Tina. I am an attorney, an author and speaker, and a Christian life purpose coach. I will be your guide here, helping you on your journey from overcoming victimhood and just simply surviving to stepping into the victorious life God has waiting just for you. As we travel this road together, Purpose After Domestic Violence is not just a podcast. It's a sacred space where the shackles of domestic violence are broken and empowerment takes root, grows, and flourishes. Here, we are not just surviving, we're thriving in the fullness of our God-designed purpose. I have personally walked the path from victimhood to victory, and I'm here to guide you through it. Picture me as your big sister, holding your hand, sharing wisdom and revelation, and helping you navigate the twists and turns of this path towards healing, freedom, and empowerment. Whether you're on the path to victory or seeking a guiding light in the storm, Purpose After Domestic Violence is here for you. Together, we'll illuminate the path forward to a life filled with purpose. Welcome, my sweet sister, to the Purpose After Domestic Violence podcast. Hello, my sweet sisters, and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to my 3-part attorney series. Today, we're going to be talking about 2 things. I have an exciting program for you. If you are experiencing domestic violence and going through a legal battle, this might be something you want to consider. Our Pursue with Purpose program. Okay, now, I love my P acronyms, and God gave me another P acronym for this program. So Pursue is an acronym for Pursuing Truth and Justice by uncovering the roots of domestic violence through screening and being united in legal endeavors. Okay, so this program, our Pursue with Purpose program, provides domestic violence screening for women going through legal endeavors and team collaboration to provide a unified and holistic approach to pursuing justice, healing, and empowerment for all of us, right? This is an exciting program. And just a little tip, if you are having trouble finding an attorney who understands the dynamics of domestic violence, this would be a great program to engage in, and together we can educate your attorney. Okay? So just a thought, and this is not like legal advice or anything. And my role in this program is not as an attorney, okay? So no matter where you are in the country or even in the world, right, you can engage in this program. Now, I will say that this is outdated as far as since I changed the platform for my marketing arc, right? I don't have this in there yet, but I will be working on it. So if you are interested in this program, though, after hearing this podcast, just go to my, actually either my purposeafterdv.com website or my law firm website, which is purpose-lawfirm.com. And actually, I do think, let me check here. Yeah, I actually do have this Pursue on my law firm website. So there are some things in there. So that would probably be the best place to go do that. And there's a little contact form there. So right now, these buttons say coming soon. So if you are interested in the program, just fill out the contact sheet on that Pursue page, and we can have a conversation about it and get you started. Okay? All right. So let me go back. All right. So I created a brochure and I'm going to go ahead and share with you um, how this program works. Okay. So, ladies, do you feel frustrated because your attorney doesn't seem to understand you or fight for what you need? Right? Women who are facing a divorce or a custody dispute encounter various challenges and frustrations due to their partner's continued abuse after separation, called post-separation abuse. Okay. And here is a list of 5 top problems that women might face when working with their attorneys. Okay. So this isn't talking about, what is post-separation abuse? What are the dynamics of domestic violence? No, this is specifically tailored to the relationship between the client and the attorney. Okay. So the top 5 problems that women might face when working with their attorneys. Number 1, a lack of empathy and support. Many women, many women may feel their attorneys don't understand or empathize with the emotional trauma they've endured. Number 2, minimizing the abuse. Some attorneys may inadvertently downplay the severity of the abuse, which can be frustrating and invalidating for women. Okay. And then number 3, inadequate safety planning. Women may feel that their attorneys do not adequately prioritize their safety or provide guidance on safety planning during and after the divorce. Okay. And then number 4, communication issues. Poor communication can lead to misunderstandings and increased stress during an already difficult process. And number 5, custody and visitation concerns. Women may worry that their attorneys do not adequately address concerns about the abusive partner's access to the children or their potential for further harm. Okay, so let's talk about each one of these just a little bit. Okay, so lack of empathy and support. All right, many women may feel their attorneys don't understand or empathize with the emotional trauma they've endured. And again, just like I said last week, the vast majority of attorneys don't understand the domestic violence dynamics. They just don't. And it's not that they don't care, they're just not educated. Okay. And then minimizing the abuse. Some attorneys may downplay the severity of the abuse, but I can tell you, as far as Indiana is concerned, like, Indiana right now is a no-fault divorce state. So basically the courts don't care if you're getting divorced because you're being abused. Like, they don't care. Okay. Or it's just it's not a topic of conversation. Like, you want to get divorced, fine, let's get divorced. Um, Now, the only place that domestic violence does come into play is, if you have kids and the kids are being abused too, that's important. And the, best interest of the child statute does have domestic violence as one of the factors. Okay. However, I will tell you that even though that is there, most attorneys don't fight for it. Okay. So you need to educate your attorney. Okay. And then inadequate safety planning. Now, do I sit down and safety plan with my client? Typically, no. Like, if I have some red flags I'll discuss with her, but I don't do a formal safety planning. But what I do is refer my clients to Safe Passage, because Safe Passage will sit down and do an extensive safety plan with them, and that's free. You don't want to sit down with me and pay me $300 to do a safety plan with you, but make sure your attorney has resources for you. The attorney you choose should have the phone number and contact information for your local domestic violence agency. Okay. So get connected with them and get that safety plan done. Okay. And then share with your attorney some highlights of your safety plan, especially if they are relevant to your case. Okay. And then communication issues, right? Poor communication. This is the biggest bar complaint um, that clients will make against their attorneys is they never return my phone calls, right? They never return my phone calls. So if your attorney is not returning your phone calls in a timely manner, now let me tell you, being an attorney is no joke. We are busy all the time, and not a whole lot of attorneys answer their own phone. I do right now. But if I'm in court, it's going to voicemail, right? So if it becomes an issue, address it immediately with your attorney. Okay. Again, because we work for you, right? And then custody and visitation concerns. Again, if domestic violence is an issue, most likely not only are you being abused or were being abused, but your kids are being abused. And guess what? Now the abuser is going to use those kids as pawns. Okay. So have a deep heart-to-heart conversation with your attorney about the need for them to advocate not only for you, but for your children too. Okay. All right. Good, good, good. All right. So now on the other side, let's talk about pursue with purpose for attorneys. Okay. Attorneys, do you feel frustrated because your client seems irrational and unable to make sound decisions? Okay. Attorneys working with women facing divorce or a custody dispute encounter various challenges and frustrations due to their clients experiencing post-separation abuse. Here's a list of 5 top problems that attorneys might face when representing these women. So ladies, as I read these, think about where you're at as far as descriptions when I say these problems, okay? Okay, number 1, limited disclosure. Clients may not disclose the full extent of the abuse, which can hinder the attorney's ability to build a strong case. Okay, so maybe your attorney does understand the dynamics of domestic violence, but the problem is you never told your attorney you were experiencing it. Okay, so do tell your attorney all about what you have endured and make sure that they are going to get on board and build a strong case for you. Okay. Number 2, fear and emotional trauma. Clients may be emotionally traumatized and fearful, making it challenging to communicate effectively and to make sound legal decisions. And you know what? When you are in that hot mess of a train wreck called going through a divorce, it's traumatizing and you're emotional and you're overwhelmed and sometimes you don't even know what questions to ask, right? So, just be aware that this can be a frustration for your attorney. Um, so the one thing I would recommend, right? Engage in our Power After DV program because we're going to help you get a grip on that fear and emotional trauma and teach you how to um, change your mindset about who you are and all that, right? Um, all right, and then safety concerns, right? So ensuring the safety of the client during legal proceedings can be a significant concern, especially if the abuser poses a threat. Okay, so this is a concern, and hopefully your attorney recognizes those things. Um, and we'll talk about mediation here in just a little bit, but if you're going to the courthouse, right, because you have a court hearing and you're going to be facing your abuser, there's some safety issues there, right? Maybe you have a protective order in place, but maybe you don't. But meeting your attorney outside or right in the lobby making sure that you're not alone in the same space, with your soon to be ex or ex. Um, keep those things in mind. And then inconsistent testimony is number 4. Clients may provide inconsistent accounts of events due to trauma, which can weaken their credibility in court. Okay, and this is a huge, huge issue because when you've endured trauma, sometimes one day you remember facts one way and the next day you remember facts a different way. It's just how the brain processes trauma. But if the attorney understands that, it can help you guys be on the same page with issues. Okay. And then number 5, child custody issues. Domestic violence can complicate child custody cases with abuser often seeking custody or visitation rights, right? And the abuser's using the kids as pawns, like I said before, and I learned something new this week. So there's a term called parental alienation. And I'm sure you've heard that if you've been in the legal arena for any length of time. That term was coined by a pedophile. Can I say that? So abusers will often say that the mom is alienating the kids from them when in reality, you're just trying to protect your kids, right? And oftentimes it's the abuser that will cause the alienation and try and get the kids to turn against mom. Okay. But I learned just this week that we are now using a different term and it's called gatekeeping. Okay. So when one parent is gatekeeping, that means they're kind of keeping the kids from the other parent. Okay. So, all right. So let me tell you how this program works. Okay. So our program, and this is a paid program. Okay. There are four steps to the process. So step 1 would be a discovery call, which is free. So that's just get on the phone with us. We explain the program to you. You decide whether or not you want to engage in that. Okay. So then if you decide to move forward, number 2 is the screening session. Okay. So what I do is during that session, we're going to talk about the domestic violence that you've gone through. Okay. Now, I use 3 different screens. Okay. So the screening session is going through all 3 screens. Number 1 is the danger assessment. Now, the danger assessment is basically to see how lethal your relationship is, okay, and how much danger you're in, okay? Now, I will tell you that this particular screen is like research and evidence-based and can be used in court as evidence. And you can even get an expert witness to testify about the results of the screen. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. The second screen we use is the MASIC S. Now, this is all capital letters. It's MASIC-S. And the S at the end stands for shortened, okay? So there's the MASIC test, which is much longer, and the MASIC S, which is the shorter version. Now, this screen is specifically to determine whether mediation is appropriate. Okay, so when I'm done explaining the program, we're going to move into mediation and I'll explain that form just a little bit more. But it primarily asks about physical abuse, a little bit of emotional, but nothing else. Okay, the danger assessment solely looks for physical violence, physical abuse. The MASIC looks for physical primarily and just a little bit of emotional and psychological. And then the third screen we use is our proprietary power screen. Okay. I was frustrated with the screening tools that are out there because they primarily only screen for physical violence. Okay. Now, is it a crime to emotionally or verbally or spiritually abuse your partner? No, it's not. And this is why it's been overlooked. However, if you're going through a court battle, it is extremely important for your attorney to recognize that you're being emotionally and psychologically and spiritually and financially and legally abused and have that post-separation abuse conversation, right? This is what abusers do once you've left and you're in the middle of a court battle. Like they're going to keep filing continuances. They're going to take you back to court again and again, right? Depleting your financial resources and keeping you held up in the legal system. Okay. So our proprietary power screen, which is actually in my book at the end as a resource, um, we actually go through all 10 types of domestic violence that are found in my book. Okay. Now, this is not a long conversation on this screening session. Okay. All I want to know for the sake of the power screen during this session is, were you experiencing this type of abuse? Right. And so like for verbal abuse, how many incidents can you think of? Is it just like one time he called me a name, or is it like every single day he calls me names and degrades me and gaslights me and all the things, right? So it's basically, I don't need to know every single incident and the details in the play-by-play, right? I just need to know how many times it's happening. So the screen goes up to 10. So if it's 10 plus, like no doubt that type of abuse applies to you, right? Okay, so we go through those 3 screens during that screening session. Okay, and then step 3 is a results and strategy session. So we'll schedule that, during our screening session, we'll schedule the follow-up session, the results and strategy session. So on that session, we go through the results of the screens with you, and then we make a plan for you moving forward. And whether that is, there's several options. So we can actually do an attorney collaboration session, which is step 4. So if you and your attorney are interested, we can actually get on the phone, the 3 of us, and we would go through and give those results to your attorney and explain some things and kind of educate them on the dynamics of domestic violence, and particularly focus in on what you are experiencing and how it could impact the case. Okay? All right. So that is our Pursue with Purpose program. And like I said at the beginning, this is not my role in this is not as your attorney. There's no legal advice being given. So anywhere you are in the continental USA, the whole USA, the whole world, in fact, right? We can do this Pursue with Purpose program with you. Now, let's circle back just a little bit to the MASIC S. Okay. Once that is for specifically geared towards determining whether mediation is appropriate or not. Okay. And just so you know, the danger assessment and that MASIC S are available online. Okay. And then, like I said, my power screen is available in my book. So the MASIC S asks a series of questions. Now, the goal of the MASIC S is actually for both parties to complete the screen. I don't screen the abusers, just so you know. That's not part of what I do in this. We are only focused on you. Okay. So it will tell you, and I do like how the results page comes out, because depending on how, what your score is, it'll give you recommendations on how to handle mediation. Now, I think mediation is one of the most valuable tools in a divorce or custody battle, because you know what? No one wants to have to go to court and have a long, drawn out, nasty fight in court. Like, that does not set you guys up for success. If you can go to mediation and come to some agreements where, neither side is going to get everything they want, but both sides are going to get something, a lot of things that you do want. And you feel more in control. You are more in control of determining how your life moving forward is going to look, especially if you have kids. It really sets you up on a more positive note moving forward, trying to co-parent. Now, co-parenting with an abuser is a whole different conversation. Okay. And one I am not going to get into. But because we're specifically talking about mediation. A lot of domestic violence agencies think that mediation, if domestic violence is involved, is 100% not appropriate. However, I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree. Okay. But there are definitely some things you want to keep in mind if you are in that situation and you go to mediation. Okay. So I think the number one rule is be in different rooms. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I am actually a mediator too. Okay. So I can mediate cases in Indiana. So if you're anywhere in Indiana and you need a mediator, I can do that. And it's virtual. So I would have you and your attorney in one breakout room, and then him and his attorney in a separate breakout room. So you guys would not be on the screen together. You would not be hearing what the other is saying. So it's very important to be separate. Okay. So if you're going to a mediator's office, which I do take my clients to mediation a lot, with a attorney down in Lawrenceburg. And so we are in separate rooms. So me and my client are in one room. Him and his attorney are in a different room. And then the mediator goes back and forth between the two rooms. Okay. So you always, always, always want to be in different rooms. And if at all possible, get there early, get inside, get in your room before he gets there. Or come a few minutes late, or sit in the parking lot and make sure he goes in first and gets his room before you go in. So if you can just not even see him at all, that would be fabulous. Now, the mediator I use down in Lawrenceburg, she even, tells our women when we're in these situations, like, she'll let her go upstairs to the bathroom so that she doesn't have to walk past the room that they're in. Okay. And then let's talk about timing of leaving mediation. And this goes for court, and this also goes for any supervised visit scenarios. Like, you want to be the one to leave first, because I cannot tell you how many times, back when I worked at Safe Passage and my clients would tell me, or my law firm clients, the supervisor let him go first. Well, guess what he does? He goes and sits in the car and he waits for you to come out, and then he follows you, right? But if you leave first, then you can get in your car and leave. And then by the time he comes out to get in his car, you're long gone. So he can't stalk you and follow you where you're where you're going next. Okay. So the same holds true with a mediation, right? You leave first. Okay. And then, yeah. Okay. So mediation. So I do think it's extremely valuable. And then also, like if you're going through a divorce, if you can get everything resolved, like the mediator will type up the document that day, a settlement agreement, and you guys will sign it, and then she'll file it along with the decree of dissolution of marriage, and you're done. Your case is over, right? So mediation is so, so valuable. But there are proper ways to handle it if you are experiencing domestic violence. Okay, let me think. Oh, yeah. I did want to talk just a little bit about mediation. When you're going through a divorce, there are two buckets. I like to call them two buckets. So in one bucket, you have all the financial information, all the assets, all the debts, marital real estate, all that kind of stuff is in one bucket. And then if you have kids, you have a second bucket for the kid issues. So that's visitation, custody, legal and physical custody, child support, who's claiming the kids on taxes, who's covering the kids with insurance. Okay. So if you have both buckets, plan on mediation being all day. Okay. Hopefully, if you only have one or the other bucket, it'll only take a half day. But plan on your mediation being 4 to 8 hours. That's what I would say is a good general rule to follow and be prepared for. Okay. So I think that is all I have to say today about mediation and the benefits of it and how to handle mediation day if you are experiencing domestic violence and our Pursue with Purpose program. And again, you can go to my purpose-lawfirm.com website, and there is a tab at the top that says Pursue, and you can go there and you can schedule that discovery call right now on my website. So that would be your first step. I do have two master classes. One is for you, right, the ladies, and then I do have a separate master class for the attorneys. Okay, so the attorneys, if they're interested, they can sign up for that. That is free, and there is a workbook that goes along with that master class. But as of right now, those things are not hooked up, but the discovery call link is active, and you can actually, I said earlier to just fill out the contact form, but you can actually just go ahead and book that first discovery call and we'll talk about it. Okay. All right. Perfect. So next week, we're going to talk about estate planning and some important issues for you to know while you're still in the relationship, after you've left the relationship and you're pursuing a legal endeavor, and then also after your divorce is final. Some things you need to think about and keep in mind with your estate planning. Okay? All right. I love you guys. I hope this was helpful. And I will chat with you again next week. Be blessed. Thank you so much for joining me on my Purpose After Domestic Violence podcast. I hope today's conversation resonated with you. And if you think it could encourage someone you know, please share it. Together, we can spread the light of healing and purpose. I would so appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and leave me a review. These small actions would bless me indeed and help other women find this podcast and be encouraged too. Remember, you are not alone. Your strength is undeniable, and your journey is worth celebrating. If you have questions, thoughts, or topics you'd like me to explore in the future, please reach out on social media, or you can visit my website at purposeafterdv.com. Before we part ways, always remember, you are a strong, beautiful, confident woman of God, and your purpose is shining brightly within you. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep moving forward on your journey to a life filled with purpose.